I don't know if I could do that. That seems a bit extreme. Hey everyone, it's Tara. It's time for the June check-in to see how my stash is doing. If I don't show you a yarn that I had in the last check-in, it's because I have used it up in a project or I'm currently using it up in a project. So this is literally what's sitting in my stash as of right now. The setup is still the same. I haven't changed any of my organization. And so we'll go into my drawers. So starting with this one, everything in the drawers are in tote bags or project bags because they already have kind of like a project idea attached to them. Some of them, that project idea is written in stone. That is exactly the project that I'm going to make with that yarn. And others, it's kind of more of a fluid idea that's open to change. In this first one, I have some lace weight yarn from Knit Picks, and something I also did is none of my yarn is in hanks anymore. I went ahead and cranked everything into a cake so that as soon as I'm ready to knit it up, I can just go. I don't have to stop and crank everything. This is a gloss, Knit Picks gloss. It is a lace weight in the color Clarity. It is 70% merino, 30% silk. And my plan with this is to hold it double with mohair. So this is Knit Picks Aloft in the color Iceberg. And this is silk mohair. So these, I would say, are the same shade, but not this, obviously not the same tone. This is more cool tone, and this has a little bit more green to it, but I want to marl it and see what happens with it. So if I hold these two together, it'll give me approximately a fingering weight, which is my favorite kind of weight to knit up, and it's going to end up as a garment. And I'm just going to leave all the bags out because I'm going to have to take a picture of all this. Well, I don't have to. I want to. And then in our next drawer, we have some Knit Picks palette undyed. So just in a natural colorway. It's Peruvian Highland wool, which most knitters who order Knit Picks palette already know that. So we have the color Bear. I'm going to hold it double with the Knit Picks Aloft mohair in white, and I have a sweater's quantity for that, although I only bought 4 skeins of this, and I'm thinking I probably should have bought 5, and I don't know whether to worry myself with it or just cross that bridge when I get there. That's all that's in here were those 2 projects. Nothing in the bottom drawer. This is where I just keep some bits and bobs, but no yarn. In this bag we have, this is the Yarn Bee Wrapology in Sunday Denim. I have plans to knit up a second version of my dish tee, but this time I want to play with the sleeve. I kind of want a flutter sleeve. I have 2 skeins of this, which should be more than enough to knit that up. Then in here I still have my beloved Rowan Alpaca Classic. My local yarn shop that I always would go to since we moved here has since closed the doors. I believe the owner retired, and that's where I would buy this. And now that that store's closed, there is a part of my psyche that says, hold on to it, don't use it. But eventually I will use this up. I've mentioned before, I bought this specifically with pink fizz in mind. So I am debating about whether I will knit it up this summer or wait until the fall, since it's kind of more of a fuzzier, warmer yarn. I might wait to knit it up in the fall so then I could wear it in the winter months. That's kind of my plan right now. I like to knit things not too far in advance, but kind of just at the cusp of seasons changing. If I want to wear something for summer, I'll knit at the end of spring. If I want to wear something for the fall, I'll knit it at the end of summer. And the only reason I am able to do that is because I am a stay-at-home mom. If I was still in the classroom and still teaching, there's no way I could get any of this done the way that I do. There's just no, unless I was permitted to knit in the classroom while I was walking around and helping students. Like if I would probably knit socks. If I could just walk around the classroom and just knit on some socks while kids are working on math and help them that way. I mean, a math teacher who knits, I think makes sense. Knitting is math. So this obviously is not in a project bag, but this is Holst yarn. Look how it's just like perfection how this is wound and packaged. So this is Holst yarn Super Soft and Sweet Pea. This is very affordable. Does this come from Norway, I think? Or Denmark? Denmark. But for coming from Denmark, it came here in a really reasonable amount of time. So I have to decide. At first I thought I was going to knit Andrea Mowry's rose cardigan in this, just in a single color. But then I was watching Cocktail Hour at the Coop, and Leanne had knit Andrea Mowry's Wool and Honey in this. And I thought, when I saw her sweater, I was like, oh, that's so pretty. And then she was talking about it, and I was like, oh, I have literally that exact yarn. So now I don't know, do I want to knit a Wool and Honey in this? I don't know. I thought I had an idea for this, and now I don't know. But I have a garments quantity, literally the cutest cake of yarn I ever did see. Then in my mushroom bag, I have my non-superwash yarn from Christy Archer Designs. And I mentioned before, she's no longer dyeing yarn, which is a bummer. But, well, to just be honest, I sure am glad I got some. Oh my God. It's not very nice to say that, but and I love, and it's a sea glass colorway. Oh my God. So I'm gonna knit a Weekender Light this summer. This is a project I will work on this summer. And it'll be one of my soon to be cast on projects. So I have a sweater's quantity of that. Bag 7. This, Raised on Sweet Tea and Jesus bag has kind of just become my half and half wrap bag. I still have my leftovers from my first wrap. This is Pink Pop and Red Poppy. I made the 4 skein version, so I used 1 1/4 skein of each color to make the smaller wrap. And so that's why I have these leftovers, which means when I make my second wrap, I only needed to buy 1 more skein. So now my next wrap is going to be with Red Poppy. And I got 2 skeins of Pink Peony. So these are now skeined up, patiently waiting to go. I keep telling myself there are some projects that I have to get done before I can cast this on. I have to get the blanket for my nephew done and then I can cast on my next half and half wrap, because this is very much a treat for me, and I have to be able to get some things done first before I can really appreciate and respect like the ability to be completely self-indulgent. So I have 7 projects ready to go, kept in my drawers. And then I have this box that I showed from Knit Picks. Now, last time I showed it, it had 2 sweaters worth of yarn in here. It had Patton's classic worsted that I knit up my reluctant homeschooler in with the apple buttons. And then it also had the white mohair and bear palette yarn. But I have since now moved all of my scraps in here. So this is literally just full of odds and ends and bits and bobs, all different weights. I mean, this is literally just leftovers. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you want to see my leftovers? I don't know, like some Rapology hues. This is leftover from my Gloam cardigan that I do love, by the way. From a blanket that I made. I mean, it's literally just scraps. It is a box of scraps. It is now officially full. And what I would like to do is to do some scrappy projects. And I haven't bought any patterns at all in the last 3 months. I've written some, but I've not bought any. And I think I'm going to let myself get the Vertices Unite pattern by Stephen West. It has been percolating in my brain for months and months and months. And then all of a sudden I started to see it pop up in a couple of different podcasts, and I thought, that's interesting. That pattern's been out for a while, and now so-and-so's knitting it, and now that person's knitting it, and now like Cozy Up Knits, all of them are knitting it. And then all of a sudden, like Needles at the Ready, Kevin and Ray were talking about it. And then Fiber Hustle is now officially starting June 1st, a Vertices Unite knit along. And I thought, I think this is a sign. I have been ruminating on it and thinking about it, but haven't actually put any of that into action. And I think that's my sign to go ahead and try it, to use up some scraps. Do I have all the colors to pull that off? I have no idea. Is it gonna turn out the way I would want it to? I have no idea. But I need to use some of this yarn. I don't even know what to make with it. I'm not very good with leftovers. I really enjoy watching Amy at Noble Character Crafts because she has all of these amazing scrappy blankets that she makes. And in her latest episode, she had showed progress on her excavation blanket that she's working on. Oh man, that gets me every time. It's one of those that when she holds it up to show it, I go, ooh. And that's how I know, like maybe I need to work on one of those as like a long-term project. But I have all these scraps. I mean, I have almost a full skein of yarn left over from my Blue Christmas fingering weight version. So then I think, do I buy a couple more skeins of this color and then make something? But then I also think, I could make some baby items and donate them. I could make some baby items and hold on to them for gifts. This is kind of an area that is not my strong suit. I don't feel like I'm very good at scraps. I want to think of this as like my sensory box where I can come and just play. It should be low risk and just for fun. There are no high stakes in here. But for now, I just kind of close it up and just, I don't know, we'll just see what happens. As time goes on, I'm getting more and more organized and figuring out how I like to organize my yarn. I have monitored kind of what I'm taking in on Instagram, and you know, I don't follow a lot of designers or yarn companies or dyers just because I want to be able to have not really control, but I don't know a better way to phrase it other than to say I want to have control as far as what I'm taking in. I still have things that are on my radar, and I have my ways of seeking and finding patterns or yarns if I want to. I mean, the ultimate goal would to have maybe only 2 bags of yarn in my stash for future projects. That might seem kind of, I don't know if I could do that. That seems a bit extreme. I mean, what is my ultimate goal with doing this? I don't want to ever have an amount of yarn unused just sitting when I know that the money spent on that yarn could have been used for something else that either was a need or something that could have been done for somebody else. And just using what I have and not just buying yarn all the time, that I would be able to kind of save up money as I go along. And then if I wanted to treat myself to some yarn that is a bit more expensive, then I could without that feeling of guilt. It's not so simple as to just say, I'm not buying yarn because I'm spending too much money, or having this much yarn is wasteful, or I don't know. It's almost as much as the actual act of knitting. For me, it is managing the stash is kind of almost the same as an act of mindfulness. I like things to be a little bit just small and simple and easier to manage, because then it just doesn't feel so heavy and so overwhelming. Like right now, I'm looking at the, what did I say? 7 bags in front of me and the box in my lap. And this does not feel overwhelming. It does not feel stressful. I feel like with as much as I knit, it is reasonable to have this amount of yarn. And I have gotten better in the past year and a half. I have noticed that there are things that I've learned to pay more attention to that I like natural fibers, mostly because I can spit splice them. And that one little reason is enough that I'm like, okay, I can spit splice it. I'm good with it. But in addition to spit splicing, with natural fibers, it's just a better insulator than acrylic. I'm not against acrylic yarn. I will still go to Hobby Lobby and Michael's and Joann's or wherever and still walk the yarn aisles and look and see what they have. Now, I will openly admit that big box store yarn does not entice me and draw me in the same way as a company or an independent merchant could draw me in with natural fibers. Like when I walk into an LYS, I literally could probably spend all day there, as many knitters could, or crocheters, or weavers, because there's something quite enchanting about a beautifully dyed yarn. And I think, you know, when I was a kid, if I went to Walmart and got some Red Heart, it wasn't the softest. The colors were okay, but they weren't nuanced, you know. You kind of just had the primary colors, you know, and some like elementary, primary, secondary colors. I don't know. But I will say that I do feel like bigger yarn companies, commercial yarn companies, are kind of starting, and I think because of social media and they can see everyone's input, they're starting to kind of come around and create yarns that are more enticing. Well, this was a tangent. I think my stash is kind of staying around the same size, which is good. We'll do this again in September. And I think September is when I started this podcast. So maybe I'll have to do something fun to celebrate with everybody. I don't know what that is. I'll have to think about what that is, but that's everything. It's almost shocking to me. Huh. Okay, well, sweet. That's it for now. I'll see you in episode 10 at the end of June, and we'll check in with the stash again in September. So I'll see you next time. Bye.